Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Alan Hathaway. I'm glad you joined me for this second message in my series on perfected love from 1 John chapter 2 and 1 John chapter 3. I want to talk to you a little bit out of 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. I want to talk to you about particularly the idea of love and truth. One of the goals of Christian love is truth. Truth lies at the very heart of agape love. Agape love is love that holds another in esteem or high importance. And we live in a world where that is lacking. Esteem has to do with honor and truth and integrity. And those things are very central to the concept of love. John in these verses contrasts the concept of love that is born out of this world and love that comes from God's nature. He talks to us about the concept of love not the world, and the picture that he paints of what that means is very different, because John will also use the fact that God so loved the world, and he uses the word world. It's the same word that's used in both places, but he means something quite different by that word here in 1 John. He is talking about the world system, or the way in which this world is organized, this fallen world that we live in, the things that are important in this fallen world. He understands that human nature is very much focused on self and self-desire and self-intent. And so when he talks about love that comes out of that, it is a love that is driven by the forces that are at work in our fallen world. And the Bible very clearly identifies this as a fallen world, a world that is broken. And because of that, our relationships with people are broken as well. Love is the central relationship. It is the idea upon which we build things. And we talk about brotherly love in the sense of having esteem that goes both ways. I respect you because you respect me. We talk about emotional love, or love that is driven by desire, and it's not because we care as much about the other person in that situation as we are reflecting our own wants and our own desires onto that other individual. We think about that as the idea of puppy love, or in very strong terms, the idea of infatuation. And those things are destructive if they are allowed to be the central core of love. John says that if we love this world, if we value the things in this world as more important, then our concept of love within our lives will be broken down. We will lose the sense of integrity or honor that makes love really worthwhile. And that is important for us as we go about our relationships, whether it's our relationship with our children, our relationship with our friends, our relationship with a spouse, or our relationship to our neighbor. All of those things are focused on the idea of esteeming the other person as valuable and important in and of themselves. When we have lost that, we have lost the very heart of love. In this passage, John tells us that there are three things that work against God's love. John tells us that the first thing is the desire of the flesh. And I'll be talking a little bit more about the Greek word that stands behind the word desire in the English language. But suffice it to say is it is that which that selfishness that comes out of the inside of us, desires that are built upon our appetites and what we want, what we desire, what we must have. And so we have that desire that is coming out of what fulfills my need at the moment, not what is in the best interest of the other person. And he talks about that as being a desire that is a part of this fallen world. It's a part of that world, and we as Christians need to move away from that in our relationships, that self-centeredness in our relationships is destructive to us and to the people around us. The second thing that he talks about is the desire that comes from the eyes. And that concept in Scripture is directed out of covetousness and envy. That which comes out of that desire that comes from our eyes is when we want what belongs to other people and we desire it above everything, or we envy what another has. And so we want to break them down or crush them or force them under our feet. We want to dominate and control them. And that is a part of worldly passion. It wants to control or take what belongs to others. It's built a lot on envy, and we have a world very much built on envy right now. We want what belongs to others, and that John tells us is very destructive to us and to our relationship with other people and our relationship with God. The third thing, as he talks about, is the pride of life. And I'll be talking a little bit more about the Greek words that stand behind those two words, pride and life there. But suffice it to say, it is when we focus on the temporal circumstances, what we want in this moment, what is in this moment is the most important thing. And we do not give a thought about what is eternal or what is valuable beyond this moment. And so when John is talking about that, that's the things that he's talking about. He's talking about these things that break us down, and they are counterproductive to truthfulness. Throughout the Scripture, particularly in the New Testament, it talks about loving in truth. John uses that word truth a lot in his gospel. It's the idea of being forthright, of having integrity, of being trustworthy. And so our love for other people must be trustworthy. It must esteem that other person, must value that other person. Part of that is reflected in the way we handle our relationships. Do we really esteem the other person? Do we value that other person? God so valued us that Jesus Christ came and gave his life for us to cleanse us of our sin and to work on that selfishness, that self-centeredness that is at the very heart of human existence because of sin. And so God loved us that much. He expects us to do the same. And that is the profound truth of that. We need to love other people in truthfulness, in truth. That truth means that we're trustworthy. That means that we are caring about what is important and what is necessary for the other person or people in our lives. For parents, that can be caring about what is in our children's best interest, not rather what is in our best interest as we try and live our lives out through them, or trying to control our spouse and make them a servant to our own desires or our own directions or our own purposes in life. Or trying to make our friends less than we are and less important than we are so that we bolster our own value in life. Those are things that are counterproductive to love, and they are untruthful in their very nature. They are without honor and without integrity. And that's something that God does not like in any of us, when we act with a sense of a lack of integrity in our relationships with other people. We live in a world where relationships lack a lot of integrity, from the sense of a lack of commitment prior to marriage, or a lack of concern or care for our children and for our offspring. Those things are destructive to us. They are destructive to our culture. And Christ calls us away from that. He calls us not to love this world, but to love the people around us, to love our neighbors as ourselves. And when we have done that, we transform the world. And that's what it means to love in truth. God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you in church. Take care. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day.